a fascia ball, you might want to place since we had a request for that heart and chest opener, it might feel nice to take one of those fascia balls at your mid to upper back and just kind of lie back on it. Right. And just kind of gently open that. So you decide if you want to try that. And then we'll go ahead, and if you'd like to also support your head with a blanket, you can do that. Make sure that it's keeping the neck at a fairly neutral position, so you don't have the head lifted so high that the chin drops into the chest. Okay? And then I'm going to invite you to place your palms on your belly, allowing the upper arms to rest on the floor. And then if you are using a fascia ball and another position might feel better, feel free to find that. That's totally fine. And then whatever would help the lower half of the body be comfortable or in a restful but supportive position. If we extend our feet out into Shavasana, it's not necessarily that it's a bad thing. It can place us in such a relaxed position, however, that we might fall asleep already or whatnot. So by having the knees bent and let the knees fall together, it's just a little bit more of an active position, but yet still relaxing. And allow the body to become heavy as you drop into gravity, the support of the earth. Just noticing the areas of the body that might be carrying any tension. And let go into this support. Also noticing the facial muscles and relaxing those. And as the body relaxes, watch your breath. Just observe the body breathing. Not necessarily shaping it or manipulating it in any way, just simply allowing the breath to do its thing and you watch it. And as you breathe, I'm just going to share a little something with you here. So I decided to pull a card from my fairy cards this morning, just asked for guidance in alignment with who's showing up today for practice. I figured the universe knew more than I did accurately who was going to be here. So the card that was kind of flew out of the deck as I was shuffling it was called Honoring Your True Feelings. So I'm going to trust that there is one or many of you maybe who could benefit from this. So the card meaning, by drawing this card, you're urged to listen to and follow your true feelings. Do not betray yourself or rationalize that it's acceptable to deny your inner voice of truth. You have an inner counselor who is very wise. This source of wisdom speaks to you in both physical and emotional ways. Perhaps you have gut feelings that are speaking loudly to you, or physical reactions to situations, such as a tightened jaw or a nervous stomach. Your heart may be drawing you towards a particular geographical location, a specific career, or a certain type of relationship. You may feel compelled to leave a particular situation that is unacceptable. The fairies know the importance of heeding their own feelings, and they ask you to do the same. They say, please don't discount what you know to be true in your heart. Follow your emotions, as they are your inner compass that will steer you home and keep you warm, safe, supported, and joyous. If you're unclear about which emotion you're experiencing, write down your thoughts and feelings in a journal to gain clarity and understanding. The affirmation for this card is, I listen to, honor, and follow my true feelings, knowing that they are answers to my prayers. So maybe there's one or more of you that resonates with. And just feel into that. And if it didn't resonate with you, that's okay too. Trust that feeling. And so I ask that you honor who's on the mat this morning, and that you follow that inner compass and that inner guidance in the choices that you make for yourself throughout this time together. Taking care of yourself physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. Honoring this time as a gift you've given yourself for self-care. Whether or not you have your hands on your belly, you can place them there if you want to. You can remove the fascia ball if you're using that. I'm going to invite you into belly breathing and just feeling the belly expand on each breath in and gently fall or contract back towards the spine on each breath out. So we're inviting ourselves into a little deeper breath. And it's still comfortable though, so please don't overdo this or force anything. And then notice if you can feel the breath as the belly expands, move into the rib cage. Can you feel the diaphragm expand side to side and the rib cage move with it? And then noticing the chest, so that we feel the chest rise and fall with the breath. So we're really finding ourselves in full body breathing. Deep inhale in, a complete exhale out. The breath is comfortable. We're not creating any strain. Allowing ourselves to feel the expansiveness of our breath and a willingness to honor our true feelings throughout the practice, through your day, the rest of your week. Maybe it's through the rest of the year, always. Okay? But we start small. Start right here on your mat. Allow your choices to align with exactly what you need today. Begin to even the breath out if it's not already, so that the inhale and the exhale are approximately the same length. Once you've found that, we're going to come into the Ujjayi pranayama practice. So we're going to come into that ocean breath, gently constricting the back of the throat. Nothing's too forceful. You can feel and hear the breath move in the back of the throat, and it allows us to control the breath a bit more. We can lengthen it and we can slow it down. This breath is considered slightly energizing, and I also feel it's very grounding. So since this practice we're going to work on or kind of embrace this idea of getting grounded, this breath can be really helpful for that. So if you're unfamiliar with this breath or you want to practice again, you can place your palm in front of your mouth and imagine that you have your eyeglasses. Your palm is your eyeglasses, and you know how we create that hot air, that ha sound, to create a little moisture on the lens before we wipe it off. It's the same area we're using here in this breath. We're keeping both the breath in and out an equal length. And this is called the ocean breath, which also can mean that it's cleansing. Fall is a nice time to do a cleanse. And here in Northern California, we're really dealing with a lot of dry wind still. And that's the season of Vata. And so if we're running around feeling scattered, that can increase that sense of being ungrounded or chaos or uncertainty. And so this practice will be about really connecting or staying more connected to the earth, slowing things down, and really feeling our sense of strength and belief in ourselves, and connecting into the earth as we really ground in our practice today. The more we tune into our essence of peace and bliss, the less the chaos in the world affects us. Let's take another minute or so here with this Ujjayi Pranayama. Allowing the body to remain heavy in the earth. Surrendering to gravity. At the completion of your next exhale, just fall back into observing the breath. Just observing any sensations you may be experiencing, or maybe shifts that happened already. Just taking 15 minutes to center, become present, drop into the moment. So if you haven't removed your fascia ball yet, I'm going to ask you to do so now. Then we'll go ahead and bring our knees and our feet all the way together so they're touching. And you don't really have to squeeze them together very much, but they are touching. And then we'll come into our sacral rock, just a few inches side to side. We keep the feet planted to begin with. And we just feel a sense of rocking across our tailbone, or really our sacrum. Just rocking across the sacrum. So when we want to create a grounding practice, we'll do less of flow and more work in our standing poses. We'll also stay a little closer to the earth with some seated poses, spend a little bit more time on our backs. So we feel that sense of support and strength. The idea that we're held. And you can see if moving or creating a little bit bigger movement might feel nice to you. Drawing the knees side to side a little farther. And then again, if you're really needing that sense of being grounded this morning, then a slower movement is very helpful for that. Right? So the more quickly we move, the more we're getting into flow. That's not necessarily bad, and that may be what you need today, and you're welcome to move a little more quickly with it. If you're looking for something grounding, I'm going to invite you to really slow this down. And then we'll bring all that to center. Take your feet hip width apart, parallel, and then we'll come into our hip sliders or hikers, right? We're just sliding up our mat. And this will be a nice practice for the most part to engage with that Ujjayi pranayama. And so you can even here find that ocean breath. And notice what it shifts energetically for you in your practice when you engage with that breath. And then we'll bring that to center and then come into our hip pointers. Just press into with your right foot, right hip bone moves up. Bring that back down and press into the left foot. Point the left hip bone up to the ceiling. Opposite buttocks stays on the floor. Small mindful movements, staying connected into the earth and your breath. Bring all that to center, and then we'll alternate between these two. Do several hip hikers, and then move into a few hip pointers. Just back and forth here for a moment. Excuse me. And then go ahead and bring that to center. Draw the knees into your chest. Give yourself a little hug. Rounding the low back. Just enjoy that stretch there. Minimize if you need to. Don't draw the knees in quite as close. Take a couple of breaths, just holding here, knees to chest. And then when you're ready, we'll come into our Apanasana. As you inhale, pressing the knees arm lengths away, and exhale towards you. So again, an opportunity to really slow this down. You need to feel a little more grounded. A slow motion practice. And then from here, we'll go ahead and take the knees together and circle them around. And massage to the low back. Notice the difference if you slow this down versus speed it up. You know, sometimes we have to check for ourselves what's really resonating and just feel into the echo of the practice for you. That's honoring your truth again. And then switch and circle the other way. Just being aware, stay awake to patterns and habits we fall into, and a willingness to really look at that and shift something and just to see if that might work for you. And go ahead and place your feet back into your mat. Take the feet probably about mat width apart, open the arms wide, and then we'll come into our double knee drop. Exhale the knees to one side, so it's a little bit of a twist. Inhale the top knee only, legs open wide, and then exhale, and they both release to the other side. Just back and forth here. Inhale, opening, exhale into the twist. If you'd like to involve your head, go ahead and rotate it the opposite direction the knees go. Again, slowing this down. Maybe using the Ujjayi Pranayama if you want to. When you've gone equally side to side, we'll go ahead and bring the knees back upright. Arms by your side, palms down. Let's go ahead and remove a blanket if you have one underneath your head. We'll place our arms by our side, palms down. We're going to do a little bit of a moving bridge, really slowing this down. So our heels are about 3 to 4 inches from our buttocks. Feet are parallel, hip width apart. Full length of the arms are in the floor, and you can even roll the shoulders under, or shoulder blades flat onto the upper back here a little bit. Opens the heart and the chest. Right, so again, honoring that request here a little. Go ahead and press into the feet and start to roll the spine above the floor, inhaling as we lift. And then exhaling as we release. So really feeling a sense of each vertebra rolling up off the mat. Lifting as high as is comfortable for you. And then rolling each one back down. Piece by piece, we're rolling the spine back down onto the floor. So moving mindfully with our breath. And the next time you inhale and bring the hips up, pause here. You can stay at Dvipadipedam, two-legged table. Or you can take this a little deeper and open up the chest a bit more by interlacing your hands underneath you. Roll side to side so you draw the shoulders under you. Feel the chest open and lift. And allow the emphasis to be more in the heart, as opposed to pressing the hip bones up to the ceiling. Relax the buttocks. Neck is neutral, so the chin should be up towards the ceiling. Facial muscles relaxed. Breathe. You have the option to do this in a more restorative position if you'd like to, by placing a block underneath your sacrum. This is a more active pose, but we're staying close to the earth, and we're opening the heart here. Just, if you can, take about 3 more breaths here. If you need to release, of course, do so. And at the completion of your next exhale, release the hands and roll back down. As you find your way out of the pose, take a moment in our starting position to just feel the echo of the practice. Opportunity to stop, just slow down and stop and feel. And then we'll go ahead, draw the knees into the chest again, rounding that low back, and you can either pull the knees in and just kind of hold in a nice stretch, or if you'd like to come back into that Apanasana, you can as well. And then let's go ahead and roll over to hands and knees. And we'll find our way into our cat-cow. So the knees directly underneath the hips, hip width apart, the palms pressing into your mat, and you might even try just a little bit wider where the tip of your pinky kind of reaches the edges of your mat. And if it feels too wide, that's fine, but just something to kind of fun to play with. And then from here, exhale around the spine. Inhale, open. Again, if you'd like to incorporate the Ujjayi Pranayama here, you can, or just simply slow your movements down from what you typically might do. As we inhale, the heart softens towards the earth, the tailbone and the crown of the head lift. And then exhaling, draw the navel to the spine, tuck the tailbone under, soften the crown of the head towards the earth. Just back and forth here. Taking your time, coming into that beginner's mind. Just imagine this was the first time you've ever done this. And just be in the present experience of it. And then we can begin to, from here, come into our chakra vakasana. So as we inhale, we find that gentle back bend, a softening of the heart towards the earth, and then exhaling, drawing back into a child's pose, your version of a child's pose. Take this only back as far as it feels right for you. And then inhaling back up to hands and knees. Again, slow motion if you're looking for a more grounding practice. And using that Ujjayi Pranayama if you'd like to. And then if you have it available to you, you can come back into a child's pose, pause there. If for whatever reason that's not comfortable, most likely the knees, you can lie on your belly if you want to. Just taking a moment to pause, breathe, be present, close to the earth. And then we'll come into our first down dog together here. So inhaling back to hands and knees, curl the toes under and take the tailbone way into the sky. And let's go ahead and take this first one for a walk. Just pedaling the feet, bend the knees, shift through the hips. You can move through the spine, shift through the shoulders and the head. Just really enjoy just kind of working out any tension or tightness. Just exploring, being curious, noticing whatever it is you notice, whatever's going on without judgment. And when you feel complete with that, we'll inhale back to the knees and release into a child's pose or onto the belly, whichever you prefer. Pause, take a breath. Just feel that first down dog. And then we'll go ahead and find our way into our mini flow and just slowing it down, really taking your time. Inhaling up to hands and knees. Exhale, down dog. Just slowly let the breath out. You can use that Ujjayi pranayama. We inhale back to knees. Again, just slowing it all down. And exhaling into child's pose. And just take it back as far as it's comfortable for you. And then inhaling back up. All right, so just moving through our flow in slow motion with our breath. And then if you'd like to add on that modified up dog, reaching the heart forward as you come up from child's, you can. Just lengthening the spine, or you can simply stay with hands and knees. Just gonna go move through a couple more rounds. And the next time you find your way into down dog, let's pause there. And take a few breaths, just plug the hands into the earth, feel your feet in the earth, tailbone reaches up. We press down to lift up, just like in Tadasana, we're just pressing down through hands and feet, and it's the tailbone we're reaching up. Right? To just feel that sense of lengthening in the spine, bending the knees if you need to, in order to create more length. Take the low back out of this. Really reach up high through the spine. And then we'll go ahead, walk your feet to your hands, coming into a standing forward fold. Uttanasana. Hang out for a moment, let the head relax, even let the shoulders relax into the ears. The spine just hanging out over the thighs, rounding. You can use a block here. You can bend the knees if you need to, just to release the stretch in the hamstrings if it's too intense. You can take a hold of the opposite elbow if you'd like to. Just take a couple of breaths here. go ahead, take our hands to hit your hips. Bend the knees, lengthen the spine. Reach forward through the crown of the head. Engage your core. Press down to come up. Finding our way to Tadasana. Okay. So placing your feet a little bit wider maybe than your hips, maybe almost as wide as your shoulders and parallel. Arms by your side. So we're just going to do some slow movement with our breath. These are some Qigong movements that I've been learning that I'm really enjoying. And I've been sharing them with you over the last few weeks. So we're going to inhale, we're going to scoop up anything that you need for yourself. Right? You might have a very clear intention come to mind, and we're just scooping, and maybe not just energetically. We're going to inhale up, reach up, knees are soft, and whatever it is you're gathering in for yourself, we take it all the way up, and then the palms come down, and from the crown of the head to the feet, fill your body with all of that great energy you need for yourself, whatever that is for you, and just really taking our time. There may be no words that come to this, it could just be a feeling. Inhale, trust yourself, honor your truth of whatever that is, and just nice and slow. Inhale up, and then the palms face down as you exhale, and just very slowly fill every cell of your body, all the way down to your feet. And you can close your eyes while you do this and just be in the sensations of the movement if you feel safe doing so. Inhale, reaching up, and then exhale very slowly. Hands, palms face down, and fill up. So just a bit of a moving meditation. This can be very grounding. Just continue on your own. Inhaling, reach up. Exhaling, press down. Notice the breath that you're using most naturally, and trust that. Have you come into the Ujjayi Pranayama again? Have you found yourself inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the mouth? Just noticing what's working for you today. Let's just go 2 more here. And at the completion of the next exhale, arms by your side. Again, just feel, notice any sensations or the echo of your choices. Good. Let's go through a couple rounds where we just kind of give ourselves our little chi massage. So we're going to inhale, reach up, bring the palms together overhead. Bend the elbows, and as you do so, bring the palms to your neck and upper back. And then we run the palms down the front of the neck and down the front of the chest. And we rub the belly. Just keep breathing. And we take the palms to the low back and rub the low back gently in the kidneys. And then we take that down to the hips and the buttocks and the outer length of the legs, folding forward. Just bend the knees if you need to, all the way down, across the tops of the feet, all the way up through the inner thighs, back up through center. Take one hand down the outer length of the opposite arm, palm, and then up the inner length of the arm. And then switch. Just very soft and gentle, extending ourselves love and care. that we extend to others. And then pause with your palms, one on top of the other at the heart. Take a breath. And then release the hands. All right, so we're going to go ahead and do another exercise just to open in the heart. We're going to do our heart salutations. And typically these are used to really bring energy in. We can do them more quickly. We inhale through the nose, we exhale through the mouth, and we can start to really create some energy. We're going to take this very slow. And again, just to maintain that sense of groundedness. I'm going to turn sideways just so it's a different visual for you. My feet are definitely shoulder width apart, a little bit wider than we would normally. Interlace the hands behind you. Okay, now if that is really challenging to do, you can also place your hands on your hips and just draw the elbows and shoulders back, opening the heart here. Okay, if that's not possible. Otherwise, we interlace. Take a deep breath into the heart here, navel to spine. Bend the knees very generously. You're like coming into sitting back in a chair as you exhale and fold the chest to the thighs and bring the arms up off the back if that serves you. Just keep your shoulders away from the ears, please. The arms lower. We press into the feet, engage the core, lengthen the spine as we come back up. The arms relax as we reach overhead. So really just slowing this down. Exhale wide. Inhale, open the heart. Bend the knees and exhale, fold. You can exhale through the mouth if that's feeling most natural to you. We inhale, come back up, lengthen the spine, engage the core. Arms last. So that way we protect the low back. And exhale. Okay, so just keeping this in a more slower pace. Inhale, open the heart. Exhale, fold forward. Bending the knees generously. We're not intending to get a stretch here in the back of the legs. Inhale, come back up. Arms last. And exhale, lower. One more time. Inhale, open the heart. Exhale, fold. Inhale, come back up. This time, let's bring our palms together and into the heart. And pause and feel. Good. Release the hands. If you're not at the front of your mat, find your way there. Arms by your side, finding Tadasana, mountain pose. Feet now are more hip width apart, parallel. Find your breath. And on your inhale, reach up. Palms together. Exhale, fold forward. Place your palms in your mat on either side of your feet and step the right foot back. Right knee into your mat. Okay, so low lunge. Okay, so here, if you'd like to, you can use your blocks. I've really grown fond of this, even though I'm more than capable of having my hands on the floor. I have really enjoyed this extra lift through the heart. And then from here, we inhale as we lift the head, open the heart, draw the shoulders back into the lunge. Exhale, rock back into that left hamstring. Maybe the toes come up off the floor. Just a few times, very slowly, rocking back and forth as we come forward. We take an inhale, softly release into the right hip flexor. As we draw back, it's an exhale. As we find a soft stretch in the back of that left leg into the hamstring. One more time. Inhale forward. And exhale back. Go ahead and come forward into a low lunge. Okay, bring your hands to your left thigh. Spine is tall. Heart is open. Now, we can stay right here into this lunge without necessarily releasing any deeper into the pose. You do have the option to isometrically pull the left heel, right knee towards each other and then release into the hip flexor. Much more active pose if you're looking for that. You can also change the positioning of your upper body. So you can keep your hands on your thighs. Maybe you bring them to your heart. Maybe you reach overhead. And maybe you interlace your hands behind you again, that opening of the chest that was requested. Right, so you find, here's your inner teacher speaking to you, honoring your truth today. Even if you've a way you've never done it before, you might surprise yourself. Just be open, listen, see what feels right for you. Let's take about 3 to 4 more breaths here in this low lunge. Feel the stability beneath you, the strength within you. Breath is steady. You can use the Ujjayi Pranayama here if you want to. On an exhale, go ahead and release the hands to the block or the mat. And then draw back into a hamstring stretch. Okay, so we can bring the toes up off the floor. If you'd like to, you'll just feel the stretch more in the calf and the Achilles. Or you can keep the foot pointed and feel it more in the shin. Right, you can walk the blocks back with you a bit if you want to. And then we also want to be aware of what's going on in the low back. So we want to try to avoid that rounding and shortening of the hamstrings. We're trying to lengthen that out. So we want to find that anterior tip of the pelvis, really lengthening that low back, and feel that hamstring stretch intensify a bit. And then the next option, and I'll turn around so it's more visible for those of you who want to try this. You can take your block all the way back. I'm going to keep it up at level 2 and sit. Your opposite knee has to be able to do this, okay? And come here into a forward fold. So sitting on the block, my left buttocks, but it's really compressing my right knee more deeply. So you have to decide whether that's truly right for you. Again, I'm continuing to attempt to lengthen the spine, folding over that front leg. Let's take a couple more breaths here on this side. As we hold in some of the poses today, really inquire as to whether or not you're finding just the right amount of intensity in the stretch, that it's not so intense that you're hoping we come out sooner, right? Really, really check on yourself with that one. You want to be able to find a moderate pose that we can hold in for a little bit. And then we'll go ahead and come on up. And let's go ahead and come come actually back to hands and knees. So we'll move the blocks off to the side. And a little cat-cow here. And then come into a little down dog. You can hold here a little bit, or you might want to walk it out a little bit. And then we'll go ahead and walk our feet to our hands. Come back to a standing forward fold. Hanging out just for a moment. Place the blocks back into position if you're using those. And then we'll step our left foot back and bring that knee to the floor. I want to make the adjustment of the distance between your foot and your knee, making sure that as you come forward into your lunge, that the knee stays behind the toes. And then we'll go ahead and very slowly rock back and forth. Just let's check things out on this side, see how they're feeling. We inhale as we come forward. And we exhale as we draw back. And the next time we come forward, let's go ahead up onto our lunge, bringing our hands to our thigh. Check in on this side, just notice how you would like to be positioned. So whether or not you want to come in, isometrically pull the right heel, left knee towards one another and release into that hip flexor softly. You can stay more neutral. Also notice that back foot curling the toes under versus pressing the toenails into the floor changes what you feel in that knee. Okay. And then from here we engage with the core, spine is tall. You find your expression of the pose. Right? All the same options apply. Just really noticing what's resonating with you on this side. It does not have to be the same as the other side. When you found your pose, breathe. Focus in on the breath, maybe using that Ujjayi Pranayama, or just a simple, even breathing. Let's take a couple more breaths here. And then we're going to fold forward. We're going to draw back, straightening that front leg, which is your right leg now. Again, you have the option to bring the toes up off the floor if you want to. Walk the blocks if you're using them back with you. Okay, that's one option. Or point the toes, just feel the difference. Always exploring, being curious, and being open as to what's going to serve you today in each moment. And then, of course, you have the option to take that block back again, just depending on your knee. Because the opposite knee is very compressed. And maybe your pose is here. Wherever you're choosing to hold, breathe. Let's take a few more breaths here. Oh, my toes are cramping. And then slowly find your way up out of the pose. Move the blocks off to the side. Hands and knees. Maybe this time you'd like to do a little cat-cow, or maybe down dog would feel good again. Up to you. Just take a few breaths, releasing that pose in a way that feels right for you. And then either coming into a child's pose or onto the belly. And then you can use a block or your hands to rest your head on, or even a fascia ball. And that if they're on your belly, the fascia ball is really nice at the third eye. In child's pose, either one of those options works. I'm just going to drop in, let go, just breathe. All right, so go ahead and come on up. We're going to kind of work in our forearm plank pose just a little bit, because it's so close to the earth. It's a very grounding pose, and it really is about that internal strength. And this morning what I'd like to do is to go ahead and use a block. So I have my block at flat, level 1, right? And I'm just have my palms on either side of it. If you don't have a block, you can be on your forearms, palms down, or you don't want to use a block for whatever reason. Otherwise, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to find my palms pressing against the block. I'm walking my knees back, okay? And technically in a forearm plank, we want to find the body parallel with the floor, and that does require a lot more strength. So rather than being in a pose in which you're kind of almost more in dolphin pose, okay, and you're not really using the core there by having the butt way up in the air, right? We're looking for the body to be parallel, and that's a really strong pose for a lot of people. So you can bring the knees down, okay, and just have them be, the farther back they are behind your hips, the stronger the pose is, right? So that's the best way to modify this as opposed to dolphin pose. And then if you can, you straighten the legs and breathe here. So find your pose and breathe, and try to talk while you do this too. When you need to release, bring the knees down, come all the way onto the belly. You can just remove the block. Rotate your head to one side, just kind of let go for a moment, and if you want to, bend the knees and sway the feet side to side, or you can even crisscross them. It's just a nice little release for the low back. So we're working our core, and we're asking our low backs to work here as well. We're going to come up one more time. And if that's not available to you, you can stay here on the belly a little bit longer if you want. And if you're up for it, go ahead. Coming up onto my knees a bit. Press my palms up into the block. Draw my shoulder blades onto my upper back so my heart's open. I'm not hunched with my shoulders in my ears, right? All that's open. You can keep the knees down behind you or bring them up. And release when you need, either onto the belly or walk the knees underneath you and draw back into your child's pose with or without the block of your hands if you want, supporting your head. Head can come all the way to the floor if you prefer. Deep breaths into the back body, allow the low back to stretch. And then we'll go ahead and come on up. And we're going to find a seated straddle. We have a couple different ways of doing this. If you do have a bolster, one way to do this I'll sit sideways. I don't know if my legs can come out, but you would find your straddle. We're really finding a stretch, but nothing that's overly extended. In other words, you want to be able to hold here for a little bit. So narrow the legs up if you're already in an intense stretch. Back off a little bit, okay? Feet are flexed, kneecaps up to the ceiling. So one option is you have your bolster at an angle out in front of you, and you can be here. It's really nice, and that's just an option if you have one. If you don't have a bolster, you can simply be here. I mean, you can stay with your straddle right here. And for those of you who are really tight on the inner thighs, if you have a wall to sit up against, I know it's gonna make it a little bit easier for you. The other option is a block out in front of you. For those of you who have a little bit more mobility, you might be able to come maybe the forearms to the block. We're keeping the core engaged, the spine elongated, kneecaps up, feet flexed. Some of you might have enough mobility in you to remove the block altogether and start to work towards the floor. It really depends. So we are finding a stretch here, but we're not trying to max out, okay? I must need more water. My body is having little cramps here and there today. Right, so just finding your pose, take a few breaths, or settle in rather with a few breaths. Close the eyes if you can. And just breathe. Anytime we're in a forward fold, forward action, folding action, it's about going inward, being quiet. I think one of the things we enjoy about this practice is it takes us away from the external world for a while so we can enjoy the internal. Go inside and just be with ourselves. Take a few more breaths here. And slowly come up out of the pose. And the next pose isn't going to take any props. We're going to do one more seated pose. We're going to Come into staff pose for a moment, or Dandasana, so the legs extend directly out in front of you. We're going to bend our right knee and bring that foot up and over the left thigh. Now, if that's not possible, you can take the foot to the inner left thigh. You don't have to bring it up and over. I'd like to do a little twist here. The left elbow wraps around the right knee, right hand behind you. Take your right hip and draw it back. So unsquare the pelvis so that we take the sacrum out of this twist, okay? Because it does not have the same kind of mobility as the rest of the spine. Our left leg is extended and active, so it's not hanging out. The foot's flexed, kneecap straight up. And we're gonna go ahead and on an exhale, rotate to the right. Let the hip continue to follow you a bit. And the gaze moves out the right shoulder. And pause and breathe. Breathe gently into the belly, softly into the belly, massaging the internal organs, stimulating our digestion. Breath is slow and steady. Let's take a couple more breaths here. And then we'll slowly unwind. Extend that leg back out, shake it out a little bit. We'll bend the left knee. Again, the foot can stay to the inner thigh or up and over. Right arm comes around the left knee, left hand behind you. Take your left hip, draw it back. Okay, draw that back. Spine stays tall, heart open, shoulders back, down and back as we twist to the left. And take the gaze through that left shoulder if that's available to you. And slow, steady breathing here and the twist on the opposite side. Take a couple more breaths on this side. And then slowly unwind. Shake that out a bit. And then we're going to go ahead and roll onto your backs. So I'm going to guide you through some releases. We'll do a lot of the same ones we did in the beginning, our warm-ups. And then I'm going to take you into a yoga nidra for the heart. Let's go ahead and draw the knees into the chest. Give yourself a little hug. Maybe come into Apanasana, knees to chest. And the knee circles. And switching, circling the other way. And maybe circling the knees wide. Placing the feet back down in your mat. Take the feet as wide as your mat. Open the arms wide. Double knee drop one more time. Exhale, the knees to one side. Rotate your head to the opposite if you want to get the head involved. Inhale, open wide, and exhale over to the other side. Again, slowly back and forth. Inhaling, open. Exhaling into the twist. Just take your time. When you've gone equally side to side, come back up, or bring the knees back up rather, and finding Shavasana. So please extend the legs out along the floor, maybe place a blanket or a bolster underneath the knees if you'd like to, something under your head or on you if you want, like a blanket on you. We're going to find the arms out by your side, palms up. Preferably they're not touching anything. Just taking a moment to get comfortable for a nice yoga nidra practice. Once we get settled in, we want to not move. So just taking that time to make yourself comfortable. Once you've found your position, softly close the eyes. And we want to have an intention to stay awake for the entire practice. So if you find yourself starting to fall asleep, maybe wiggle some fingers and toes, bring a little movement back in to kind of bring yourself back to the moment. Slowly begin to deepen your breath, inhaling and exhaling through the nose. Your chest is still, abdomen soft, as you just engage with smooth diaphragmatic abdominal breathing. Just remain aware of how this rhythm, refining and balancing the length of the exhale and inhale, shapes the mind. As your breath becomes smooth, mind becomes more quiet and more at ease. Deeply relax and continue to slow the rhythm of the breath while making it even. No pauses. The breath perfectly transitions from inhale to exhale and exhale to inhale smoothly. No strain, and no roughness in the flow. Slowly allow your breath to return to an involuntary flow. There's no effort to shape it, but sense it continuing to flow smoothly and continuously on its own. Have a sense that each time you inhale, a wave of life force enters the body and replenishes the mind. And sense that on each exhale that you experience a letting go, a sense of returning the breath back to the ocean from which it came. Each breath out is an emptying, each inhale a replenishing, life force entering the body like a healing wave. We'll sense that the body is still, open to the earth, the mind completely passive, no longer having to attend to moving the body, you completely open and surrender to gravity. Bring your awareness to the midbrain or third eye and sense a star-like point of light, a blue star-like point of light. Just feel it or sense it at the third eye, no effort. And see this star-like point of light, blue, in the throat. Sense its presence, healing and nurturing the throat. Continue to allow this blue star-like point of light to travel with you to the right shoulder, right elbow, right wrist, tip of the right thumb, blue point of light, index fingertip, middle finger, relax, ring finger, little finger, right wrist, blue starlight, point of light, relax, right elbow, right shoulder, throat center, left shoulder, left elbow, left wrist, relax, left thumb tip, index finger, middle finger, ring finger, little finger, wrist, left elbow, blue star-like point of light, relax, left shoulder, throat, see or feel it in the throat center, heart center, luminous with a blue twinkling star, center of the right chest, heart center, left chest, heart center, navel, top of the sacrum, blue star at the top of the sacrum, right hip joint, right knee, right ankle, tip of the big toe, second toe, third, fourth, relax, tip of the little toe, right ankle, right knee, right hip joint, top of the sacrum, left hip joint, left knee, left ankle, blue star-like point of light, left big toe, second toe, third, fourth, Tip of the little toe, point of light. Left ankle, knee, hip, top of the sacrum, navel center, heart center, point of light, throat center, midbrain or third eye. Relax the entire body and see all of these points at once. Sense the mind has become the space between the points. The body is space lit by those distinct points. Please bring your awareness to the heart center and sense the abode of absolute tranquility. The heart is a portal to absolute oneness, boundless ease, and stillness. Rest your mind in the heart. And as you rest your mind in the heart, continue to let go and deepen the experience of the release of all feelings, thoughts, and desires. Awareness abides in the heart center, expands in that space, absorbed in complete tranquility and ease. Let go of all feelings, thoughts, and desires. While abiding in the heart, become mindful of the breath. See or feel that your breath has shifted into a perfect rhythm, perfect for this moment. And for the next couple of minutes, rest in your heart. Remain aware of the breath, resting in complete tranquility. Absorbed in the boundlessness of the heart center. Begin to slowly take a few deep breaths. Wiggle some fingers and toes. Maybe stretch a little. Eventually roll to one side, and after a couple of breaths there, find your way to a seated position. Just take your time. No abrupt movements necessary. As you find your way to your seat, just bring your palms together to your hearts. And here, let's take a moment to honor yourselves for being here in this practice, taking this time for you. Bring your backs of your thumbs to your third eye, representing right thought, to your lips for right speech, to your heart for right action. May you involve all three in your day today. And I thank you for allowing me to take the seat of teacher. Namaste.